Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining me as we take a look at forecast for our storm, which is going to be impacting us tonight into tomorrow. Clipper system, pretty significant Clipper system. Some areas are going to see a lot of snow out of this. Not everybody, though. I mean, everybody's going to see some snow. Some areas less than others over a relatively short amount of distance, and not because of rain snow issues. Everybody who sees precipitation, or everybody's going to see precipitation, it'll be snow. So a lot to kind of work out with this. A lot of terrain details, some of which are going to be too small scale to completely get across, even in a forecast focused only on southern Vermont. So, but we're going to kind of go through that, try to help you understand, get a feel for what's going to happen here. Here's our system. It's called a Clipper because it comes from Alberta, Canada, and it sinks down across the Northeast, and it kind of clips across the northern part of the United States, hence the name Clipper, as opposed to systems like nor'easters, which kind of right up the coast. And so usually these are pretty moisture starved, and this is for the amount of upper level energy associated with it. Still not going to bring as much precipitation as it could, but it picked up a lot of moisture over the lakes, and it is tapping just a little bit of moisture from the Atlantic, and those things combined are going to allow for just enough moisture there to kind of really wring out some precipitation over the southern greens. Basically, you get that lift as the wind comes up over the mountains. That enhances the lift, and it really squeezes any moisture that is in the atmosphere out, and that falls in the way of snow. For us, this is almost kind of like, it's not quite, but the lakes are playing a big role in it. We don't get lake effect snow really here in southern Vermont. Sometimes snow showers and things like that off the lakes. This is kind of like a storm that's of lake effect snow. That's maybe not the best way to describe it. But anywho, you can kind of see decent amount of coverage here. None of this is falling overly heavy. And radar echoes are not going to be the easiest to kind of figure out exactly what's happening, because a lot of this snow happens at it doesn't happen real high up in the air, or higher in the atmosphere. It happens real close to the ground, and of course, the mountains kind of make getting radar real close to the ground complicated. And so it's not necessarily going to show up great on radar in terms of what's actually happening. You may have some times where you're getting some pretty good snowfall rates and it doesn't look that impressive on radar. So the fact that it's showing up at all on radar does make it look impressive. And certainly, if we zoom in a little bit, let's do that actually. You can see there's some snow, and this is going to get enhanced as we start to pick up a little bit of Atlantic moisture as well. And also, we're just starting to get the moisture really, certainly Lake Huron and Lake Superior have added some moisture. We're going to get some more off Erie and off Ontario. That's going to enhance this, and basically kind of focus. A lot of the moisture is going to be focused somewhat. The orographic lift is going to be best over southern Vermont, Bennington County. That's not usually the jackpot area for us. I mean, some of the places, the higher elevations of the southern greens, where they are always the jackpots, but the areas, it's usually areas to the east when we have a coastal storm. Now it's going to be areas to the west. So places that often kind of get snow shielded oftentimes will not be so much with this system. So a place like Manchester, which often gets really very little snow compared to areas like me, slightly east of the spine of the greens, they'll probably get more snow down in Manchester than we get here in Londonderry. It happens once in a while, but it's a little odd. So let's take a look at temperatures. Cold enough, not super cold. We're not midwinter cold, although certainly some of that is up here across Alberta. We're going to tap some of this for this weekend. It's going to feel cold, like midwinter cold. Not just when you say, oh, it's cold for this time of the, or relatively early in December. We're just going to say, no, it's just cold this weekend, especially with the winds as we head into Saturday behind the system. But cold enough for snow for everybody. There won't be any mixing with this system unless you're way down along the coast. Here's the general track. Notice the system stays well to our north, which means that we basically get west or slightly southwest flow, and that is why, as that southwest flow runs into the southern greens, that's why areas along the spine of the greens and to the west are going to be the areas that get the most snow out of this. Let's just kind of take a look at what before we get the snowfall, this is what the one model wants to do. This is a short range model that does a pretty good job. You see a few flurries as we head through the day, and then we start to kind of get some of that. Notice that we kind of get, it seems to start snowing here before it does in other areas. That's because we get that lift. Here's where the Atlantic moisture starts to come in. You can kind of see radar kind of really kind of enhances, and you can see then we get kind of waves of precipitation. It may snow hard for a while. You might get an inch or two of snow in half an hour, 45 minutes, and then it may kind of let up. That's going to happen overnight mostly, so we won't know as much. And then during the day tomorrow, we will still have some snow showers and squalls around, so we'll have to keep an eye out. That could keep travel kind of tricky even after things get better. Most of the snow is going to fall between about 5 and or about 7, 8 o'clock tonight and about 5, 6, 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. But then we could continue with some snow showers that could get it slick again. So that's sort of what things are looking like. Let's look at the actual snowfall totals. Oops, we're going the wrong direction here. Notice the wide range. So these areas, most of this is above where anybody lives. This is higher impact. If you happen to be driving Route 30 over by Snow Valley through Win Hall, that'll certainly be a problem. Route 9 as well as you head up over the mountain. 10 to 14 inches of snow. So a lot of snow. But most of this is in the Green Mountain National Forest. So it's really just if you have to drive west to east across the hills. 7 to 11 inches, so this would be like Route 11 probably sees this. That could certainly get into some of the higher terrain just as you start to come over the greens. This could continue a bit to the west though. So I think like Manchester could see 7 to 11 inches of snow. Bennington maybe not quite that much, more like 5 to 8, but a pretty good amount of snow there. And notice we're still in that kind of 5 to 8. Inch as you still have a little bit of lift, but as you start to get the winds moving down off the mountains, that actually leads to some air moving more downward. It kind of shuts off the moisture somewhat, which is why only 2 to 3 inches along the Connecticut River Valley. Obviously, you get a little bit of uplift as you head over toward the Monadnocks in southern and southwestern New Hampshire. To the north, not as much. The moisture is more focused to southern Vermont because we have that slight southwesterly flow, and so that means the Teutonics and also the Adirondacks shield areas a little bit further north, which is why Rutland County doesn't get as much, even though you are west of the Greens. It's kind of the wind direction, which is why it's really just the spine of the Greens, and they don't get quite as much as these areas to the south of them. I think a general 5 to 8 along the spine of the mountains in eastern Rutland County, western Windsor County. But yeah, with maybe a spot of 7 to 11 near Mount Holly. Maybe Killington might get that kind of get into that 7 to 11 inch range as well. So yeah, that's sort of the general rule. It's a pretty big range, right? An area like Springfield might get like 2 or 3 inches of snow tomorrow, while an area, say like parts of Win Hall might get 13, 14 inches. Certainly Woodford could get 14 inches. Wouldn't even be surprised if they got a couple inches more. This will continue with snow shower activity, adding a couple inches onto these numbers potentially throughout the day tomorrow. Everybody could see those, but particularly same kind of spots west of the mountains would be where we'd have some of those issues. So you have to kind of keep an eye on that. Let's take a quick look at the details. Snow begins this evening between about 5 and 8 p.m. So travel should be fine through most of the evening. Have to keep an eye out as you head later into the evening. Snow continues through Thursday morning with snow showers and squalls after as well. The Green Mountains and areas to the west will see the most snow. School delays and cancellations possible. Cancellation is definitely possible, especially in Bennington County. Delays are more likely kind of areas east of the Greens, but we'll have to kind of see on that exact timing of when things cut off. I think there will be a decent amount of cancellations and delays. Travel will get better through the day tomorrow, but snow squalls through Thursday could continue issues. So if you're driving during the day tomorrow, even in the afternoon, you just got to be prepared that a snow squall could move in and make it slippery once again. So tomorrow's just a day to take things, give yourself extra time, take things slow. Even if things have looked like they've improved, we could get a snow squall in a lot of places still. So that's sort of what's going on. I do want to give a quick shout out to my patrons. They help support, before we get to that, let's give it a quick shout out to my patrons. They help support what I do here at the West River Weather Guy. If you're interested in becoming a patron, you can check the link in the description below. They get a weekend forecast. They're going to get one this afternoon that comes out on Wednesdays. Year-round as one of their extra benefits. Also, I do an extended forecast for some of them, a 10-day forecast. It's kind of a graphic that I do for my weekend for my patrons, for a certain level of patrons. So anyways, those are things you can get. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel before, I'd encourage you to do so. I'll be back for everybody else on Friday. We'll look at what's going to be a cold weekend after the storm.